morning.
Good morning.
So, Roger, tell me a little bit about your organization, if you would.
Presbyterian Villages serves about 5,000 seniors across the Lower Peninsula of Michigan. We were established in 1945, and we're a very diversified organization in that we serve people of all incomes, and we provide housing in a variety of different settings, so independent living, assisted living, memory care, skilled nursing, and then a significant amount of home and community-based services, particularly with the PACE program.
Oh, great. And how's your board structure organized?
Our board is structured in a two-tiered system. So we have a system-wide board, and then each of our communities, which we have over 30 of them around the state, has a local community board. So we have close to 300 volunteers that are engaged in governance, and so the system-wide board looks at the broader strategy, and then each community board really focuses on the fiduciary responsibility of that community.
Interesting. And is there someone from those community boards that is connected then to the larger board, to the system board?
There are in some cases, and actually when we were a lot smaller, we were intentional about that, but as we've grown, we've not been able to actually have a local board member serve on the system board, but they can serve on system-wide committees, and certainly in our strategic planning effort, there's a lot of engagement at the local level.
And communication must be really critical so that messages are going at both levels.
That's right. There's a lot, and there's a lot of challenges inherent in that because we
Yeah.
serve in these very diverse communities, from the inner city of Detroit to the suburbs to the outstate areas to rural areas, all under the same mission and values, so communication is very, very critical.
One of the things I know that you've cited as critical to all of this is philanthropy. Tell me how philanthropy works for you and your organization.
Yeah, philanthropy is very significant in terms of us being able to achieve our strategic goals. We kind of view philanthropy as the only virtually unlimited source of funding. So we have funding, of course, from third-party payers, so whether that's Medicare, Medicaid, HUD, or insurers, and so we know that there's limitations relative to what third-party payers can pay. All the people we serve pay something of their own funds, so private pay. And then philanthropy is kind of that third leg of the stool, and we see that as just an incredible source of funding for our capital as well as for operational and programmatic support.
How is the board engaged in philanthropy?
So we request that board members place PVM and the PVM Foundation in their top 3 sources of individual giving. And it's a challenge because our board members have lots of things that they're interested in, but we really ask them to make PVM in the top 3. Sometimes we say top 5, but we've developed what we call a culture of philanthropy, and not just with the board, but with staff members, residents, people that we serve, that the importance of philanthropy and telling the stories about what we do will lead to folks wanting to make philanthropic investments in our organization.
And what are some strategies that have been successful in creating that culture of philanthropy?
Well, we did create a separate foundation many years ago, probably over 20 years ago, and so there are individuals that serve on a governing board for the foundation, and their focus is all about raising money, investing money, and distributing money. But it doesn't stop with the foundation. It carries out to all the board members. We've also been very successful in engaging with foundations. And actually, we're probably a little bit overly reliant on foundation support, but we've been blessed with some major national foundations as well as some statewide and local foundations that have gotten behind some of our big initiatives, and it's made a real big difference in what we do.
Yeah, I would think it does. So for our leading age members who are listening, who are saying, oh, this is an area I struggle with, how do I get my board members engaged? How do I get my organization engaged in philanthropy? What advice would you give them?
They need to view this as a long-term investment. It is not a quick fix. It is not like turning on a faucet or hiring one or two people and then expecting immediate results. Rather, it is an investment. It will take time. It needs to be consistent, and it's everyone's responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
So don't hire a director of development and say that's their job. It's everyone's job in the organization to generate philanthropic support.
Well said. I think that is one of the biggest mistakes that people make, is that they hire somebody to run their development function, and then they expect that all of that fundraising is concentrated in that one person. Because, fundraising is all about relationships, like everything else in life. And if we don't have that relationship, it's very difficult for us to ask for money. Someone has to be able to open that door so that ask can be made, and really board members are the only people who can be those door openers.
No, you're absolutely right, and board members who have also made the commitment
Absolutely.
themselves, so that we have board members that accompany our staff members when they're making calls on other donors or even with foundations, and the credibility that a board member has
Right.
versus a staff
Right.
member, is very different and very significant. We also have established a expectation that we get 100% board giving
Mm-hmm.
at whatever levels board members are able to do, and we know that some funders, some foundations, if you don't receive 100% board giving, then you don't even bother
Absolutely.
applying.
Absolutely. So as you look at the future, what do you think about philanthropy? There's all this conversation about, people are going to give less and there's less tax benefit to making philanthropic gifts. What do you think is going to happen?
In most of the surveys that we've read and some that we've conducted, the tax treatment of a donation is really far down on the list of why people give. I'm not saying it's not important, but it's usually quite far down on the list. So we're not concerned about the change in the tax law. But more importantly is this just enormous what's referred to as intergenerational transfer of wealth. And it used to be they talked about $3 trillion it was going to transfer from one generation to the next. Now I've heard that could be $20 trillion, but whatever it is, it's a huge amount of money that's going to be moving from the current generation to the next generation. And organizations like Leading Age members are well positioned if they plan ahead to participate in some of that transfer of wealth. Not to say it shouldn't go to family members and heirs and other good nonprofit charities, but Leading Age members have got powerful stories to tell, and we should be receiving some of that money.
Absolutely. I have one last question for
Sure.
you. We often talk about the difference in raising funds from younger people, that they're not the same sort of, it's my community and I supported this organization forever, commitment that their parents or their grandparents had. How have you approached that in your organization?
We have, and I think that's exactly right. So what we've done is we've started identifying opportunities for younger people, not just younger people, but younger people and people of all ages, to get involved with our organization in some meaningful ways. And so we have this event called the Village Victory Cup that brings residents from like 20 of our locations together in like a Senior Olympics type of competition. And so we've had volunteers come to the Village Victory Cup, and then those volunteers become donors, they become board members, and so there's a level of engagement. And then there's also programs at different local villages where people come in, they experience the difference we're making in the lives of people, and then so it's more than just a solicitation, but
Right.
people, we want them to be part of the organization.
So it's more than telling your story, it's connecting with
Yes,
your
they really
story.
need to be connected, and it takes different messages for different people, and it's connecting in often different ways, and I think providing a lot of different options for folks to be connected is important.
That's great. Thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome. Yeah, thank you.